Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, as I said to you just now, I'm going to speak to you about hippos. Now, I'd like to start by telling you that recently I went on holiday to Africa. I was lucky enough to visit Burundi, and I went and stayed in the capital city, which, as you now know, because I just told you, is Bujumbura. Now, Bujumbura is a very large city, it's very busy, it's very crowded, but nature is actually not too far away. The city itself is bustling with life, with traffic, more than life really. But there is also nature to be found on both sides of the city if you leave the edge of the city on either side. So on one side you can walk through the mountains and the valleys, and on the other you can visit the lake. And the lake has a huge variety of wildlife. You can see flamingos, crocodiles, and many different types of birds, all in the wild. So I was lucky enough to see all of this, but there was one animal that fascinated me more than all the others. This was the hippopotamus. In Bujumbura, you can go to the shoreline of the lake, you can sit at a bar, have a drink, and you can watch the hippos playing in the water as the sun goes down. And they're just a few meters away from you, but they are wild animals. So it's a very pleasant experience. And it was while relaxing at one of these bars, watching the hippos, that I wrote this speech. So what can I tell you about hippos? Well, it goes without saying that they love water. In fact, they spend up to 16 hours a day wallowing in rivers or lakes. And indeed, this is where the name comes from. Hippopotamus means river horse in Greek. Hippos actually need to stay submerged in water throughout the day in order to keep their massive bodies cool and to protect themselves from the hot African sun. They do prefer shallow water, but they can also go deeper into the lake if they want to. As a matter of fact, they can hold their breath for up to 5 minutes underwater. And when they're not in the water, they're probably to be found on the shoreline, basking in the sun. Now, similarly to us humans, when we bask in the sun, we need something to protect our skin. Our skin is rather sensitive, and so is the skin of a hippo. And so what hippos do, they don't have anything which is like sunblock or sunscreen, but they do secrete a red oily substance, and this helps to keep them healthy. In years gone by, people would see hippos covered in this red substance and think that actually they sweat blood. But of course we know that this is just a myth and that it's not true. So what else can I tell you? Well, what do hippos eat? Well, although they spend a large part of their time in water, they actually eat on land. A hippo's diet mainly consists of grass, and in one night a hippo can eat between 35 and 70 kilograms of grass. They're also prepared to walk a long distance in order to reach their grazing area. But although a hippo does not actually attack other animals in order to eat, this animal, the hippo, can be rather aggressive at times. And actually, if they are threatened, they may even attack human beings. And actually, it turns out that they cause many deaths each year. When we think of African wildlife, if I tell you what animals do you know about from Africa, then you may mention to me many deadly species, many animals that could kill. For example, a lion, a crocodile, a snake, or a hyena. But actually, hippos kill more people than any other animal in the whole of Africa. Yep. They actually cause more human deaths than any other mammal in the whole world. So if you are unlucky to come across an angry hippo on land, you might not stand much of a chance. Over short distances, a hippo can run as fast as a human being. So the best way of escaping death by hippo attack is actually to run circles around a tree, and because the hippo is not as good as, or will hopefully not be as good as doing circles, then that will mean that you will be able to tire out the hippo before he attacks. And you're most likely, if you are attacked, let's hope you're not, but if you are attacked, then it's most likely to be by the male of the group, since it's his job to provide protection for the rest. And when I was in Burundi, I came rather close to being attacked, actually. There was a hippo that tried to chase after our boat, and it was growling and making very unpleasant noises, but luckily our driver was able to steer us clear of any danger. So the male provides the protection in the group, but what are these groups made up of? Well, typically hippos live in small herds, and these herds are known as harems. Why are they known as harems? Because you have one male and 3 or 4 females. The females give birth roughly once every 2 years. So what's left to say about hippos? Well, what I could say is more about my trip, actually. I could tell you that I very much enjoyed my trip to Africa for a number of reasons, because I was able to visit the city, I was able to visit monuments, historical places to visit. I did sightseeing here and there, travelled around to a number of different cities, one of which is Jinja, which you might like to visit, and the name may give away, well, the origin of the name might be obvious to you. But what I really enjoyed about my trip was the unique opportunity to see this unique animal, this fascinating animal, the hippo, in its natural habitat. Now, I would like to end by saying that hippos are, of course, native to the African continent. And this is where they have lived for centuries or for millennia. But in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you about how you can find hippos in the wild in Colombia. Yes, believe it or not, there are hippos living in the wild in Colombia, and in a few minutes, I will tell you why. Thank you.